Todd, what's your last name?
It's a joke. Jurassic.
Yeah, what do you do as a preoccupation?
I work for the airlines, but as a hobby, I looked for dinosaurs before overseas. Stories of living dinosaurs.
Your mom and dad gave you the right name. I tell you, you didn't have a chance to do anything else of major import. Airlines, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But dinosaurs, that's something else. Have you ever heard that there might be living dinosaurs and living pterosaurs? Well, 1993, just before a major asteroid slammed into Jupiter, we were in Papua New Guinea. Robert Summers, Paul Nation, and my wife's husband. We were on the top of Mount Bell on Siassi. Mount Bell had only been ascended one other time in the history of that nation, during World War II, as an engineer attached to the United States military climbed Mount Bell. Now, it arises from sea level to, Bob and Garth, 6,000 feet?
I think that the base, it's 3,000, so yeah, it might get up that high.
Yes. 6,300. And it rains 23 hours a day, and the rest of the time it's fog. And we were younger, and we were intrepid then, as Garth Guessman is now. Near where we were camped, in a water-soaked environment. Water-soaked, I mean all the way through. The morning after we got a little sleep, we found an oval patch. What's that? The national leaders said, well, that's where a boa slept last night.
Ew.
So, Bob Summers, would you step front and center? And you're very accurate. He was selected to help us fly Mount Ararat because of his perspicuity. He's able to see things with absolute precision. Please come, sir, and tell me roughly how big around was that oval that had been patted down by this creature sleeping there the night before. With your hands, would you just motion? You were there.
About 4.5 feet.
In circumference. In diameter, yes. And it was a python. And how long would he be?
I'd say 16 or 17 feet, probably as large as his impression was.
Yes. Could he swallow a pig?
Probably. Small one. Small one, yes.
Could he swallow a Texan? Skinny one. This engineer said skinny one. All right. Anyhow, the next day was extremely eventful. We tethered the descending rope. How many feet did we have on those?
220 feet, I think.
220 feet. And Bob rappelled down the side of the mountain because the local nationals had reported these pterodactyls who are bioluminescent. They're able to turn their glow on and off, as you will hear from Speaker Garth Guessman in just a moment. He's the leader of this research now. And so we had assumed there were layers down below where we had tethered to a heavy stump. So Bob went down the side, rappelled down the side, and it was misty. That was a very dangerous thing. I don't know what on earth possessed us. Very wet. And he got about 200 feet down the rope, correct, roughly?
time you hollered, I was only about 150 feet.
Okay. I glanced over, and this stump base to which the other end of the rappelling rope was tied moved.
Oh boy.
I yelled to Bob, "Buddy," as loud as I could, "get ready, you're coming up."
You see, grab hold of something. What?
Grab hold of what? Nothing but moss, etc. Almost a sheer cliff. And the Nationals were much stronger than we. Paul Nation was the strongest of our team. And as fast as we could pull him up, have you ever seen a Texas artist run up the side of a mountain just like a cartoon, just like that? Well, we couldn't see him either. We got him up, and then we backed off, and we headed down the mountain. When we got to the bottom of Mount Bell, the Nationals greeted us enamored with, they had already heard who was the guy who rappelled. By the time we got to the bottom, the entire face of that mountain had fallen off.
What?
It is a miracle. Or at least you didn't do it by yourself.
Wow.
That's much of what goes on. But our days there are over. However, Garth Guessman has made how many trips to PNG?
I've been there twice, and then we continued elsewhere. We're still researching.
As we're going to learn in just a moment. This year, the lectures are being given, as the title has already been announced, Lectures by Champions. I'm going to introduce a friend, a colleague, who is a real champion. First of all, he's a fireman. He's a first responder. He jeopardizes his life and plagues his wife with what he does for our sake, into burning buildings or whatever it requires, literally. He also calls me periodically and says, "I've just left, or I'm en route to the forest fires, where you can be overcome by smoke so readily." He's a real champion. But in addition to that, he has trekked through the jungles of Papua New Guinea and various states in the United States, eschewing his own safety for the sake of truth. We're asked a question this morning: what if those pterosaurs that he's going to report on today literally are alive, do exist in the United States and elsewhere? What if that's true? The impact is that the theory of evolution is again crossed out with real emphasis in blood red. That's how important this lecture is.